One, two, three, four.
Life, death, love, war, art, politics, music, sweet round booties. Voice of the Republic is on. And here are your hosts, Ed Shimyankovich and Mike Wagner.
Hey, we're back.
Yes. We didn't get to it yesterday, but we're going to get to it now. The Hobbit.
Hobbit.
Yes.
Hobbit.
Hobbit 2, Lake Town Boogaloo, as I've been calling it. It's been getting likes online. I'm not going to lie. It's been really popular on the Facebook.
Oh, if you do say so yourself.
And I do.
Yeah. I'm totally listening to you, by the way.
Okay.
I'm listening, talk to the Hobbit about Hobbit.
Talk to Hobbit about Hobbit.
I'm not texting. I'm setting a timer. I'm actually not texting.
So you just got to see it, what, two days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw it right before Christmas, or a little bit before Christmas, while we were down looking at the new apartment. So it's probably not as fresh in my mind, but I feel confident enough to talk about it.
Well, all right.
So what did you feel about it?
I felt that I feel like I need to preamble the first part of this Hobbit and go over some other feelings real quick. So when I first heard that there was going to be, making of the Hobbit, I was excited because I love myself the Hobbit book. Then I heard it was gonna be 2 movies. I'm like, all right, it's kind of dense. Sure, 2 movies sounds good. Then I heard 3 movies, 3 hours apiece, and I keep seeing King Kong in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I know Peter Jackson loved King Kong, but I think he loved it too much. He tried to just force this relationship with him and Kong into a place where it's almost unwatchable, where nonstop action becomes boring. This can happen. So the first one, I was trepidatious, but I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But it really felt like it didn't need to be that long. I rewatched it recently, and it went a lot better, but I think because I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
This one just seemed to go. I had no problem sitting through all 3 hours. It still felt like 3 hours, but it just went, and it kept me very interested, and more. I started to really feel for the dwarves, whereas before I'm like, the hairy guys are beating up guys, and
Well, it's kind of funny because I was kind of the exact opposite. I really liked the first one because I think the first one felt like it had more content in it, more story, like more revelations, getting backstory and stuff like that, more plot. And the second one, I just felt like they were putting a lot of filling in it. I mean, now I do agree that I do like the character stuff that they did with the dwarves and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I just felt like it was a lot of filler, and I feel like it was a lot of stuff that really didn't need to be said. Because to me, it felt like I really feel like they could have done 2 3-hour movies from the feel of it. I don't know how the third movie is going to pan out, like tone-wise and everything, but it really feels that way. So I don't know.
I agree in that. There was plenty of filler. In fact, there was some train issues. My buddy picked me up out in the burbs here, so we had to find a close theater, but it was getting past lunch, and if I don't eat, I start to murder folks. So we stopped off, grab a bite, and he's like, "Oh shit, we're gonna have time?" I'm like, "All right, first we got commercials, and then we got trailers,
Yeah.
and then they'll start the movie." And knowing Peter Jackson, if he's true to form, he'll have "Remember last episode," and we'll have a brief ethereal remembering of what happened last, and then here we are, we're back in the action. So I'm like, we're not going to miss anything. And sure enough, we walked in, and there's like some fighting. He's like, "Oh, what's going on?" I'm like, "Doesn't matter."
They're either walking or they're fighting. It's one of the two. There's not a
Yeah.
whole lot in between.
Yeah, it's tunnels and helicopter shots. I hate to boil boil the Hobbit down to it, but it's tunnels and helicopter shots.
Yep, and barrels.
Oh my God, barrels of fun,
Yeah.
literally.
No, for those that might not have seen it, there's the escape from the Elven Halls where they're in the barrels. What'd you feel about that scene? I'm just going to say, me personally, I kind of hated it. It really drug on. I mean, it felt Transformer, like it felt like Transformers. It was super
Hmm.
special effects. Like it
Mm.
didn't feel realistic, and like I had like really very little invested into it. Like the few things that happened during it, like I'm like, oh, but then you just kind of like forget,
Hmm.
like, oh, so and so got hurt or this happened and blah 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 blah. It's like
Right.
it's all secondary, and you're just like, oh, barrels,
Yeah.
elves, wow. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
and I don't know how long it is, but it felt like it was like 15, 20 minutes long to me.
It
And
did.
I don't think it was that long, but it sure felt that long. And
Hmm.
it just reminded me of when I fell asleep during Transformers 2 and then I woke up and Optimus Prime was dead. Like
Spoilers.
that fuck that movie.
Yeah, if you find yourself watching that movie, you got bigger
Don't.
problems than our
Just
spoilers.
don't. Just
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah. You should punch yourself in the face.
Here, I'll sum it up. Optimus Prime dies, he comes back, and there's giant balls over top of pyramid. Done. Transformers 2.
Pyramid balls. Okay.
But
Yeah, the barrels. There's a that movie led me to create a new term, which I think will go down into the annals of movie making vocabulary, and that is now called Lucasian. It was a Lucasian action sequence, and that an idea, which I think the whole sequence was pretty much in the book, if I remember correctly. That was high school, so I probably
yeah.
don't. But um, there was just it's a lot of action. There was even waterfalls, and I looked at my friend. I'm like, if there's 4 more goddamn waterfalls, I'm walking out. No kidding. But instead of 4 waterfalls, it was orcs that I remember from from Lord of the Rings. They don't usually travel by day,
Mhm.
but goddamn, these guys are hauling ass in the middle of the day, right down the river,
Right through
and
Elven lands, no less.
right through elven lands. They don't like Elvis. They don't like Elvis or elves. They don't like
Fuck Christmas and
yeah.
fuck your blue suede shoes.
And it's just, and they're not very competent. They're orcs, right?
Mhm.
But these guys, it was getting to be like wire fu in video games, and that's where Lucasian action comes in. When it starts to feel like a video game where the impossible is happening, and I know that elves can do superhuman shit. That's fine, but this was way out of line
And
and
then
way non-believable.
and how many times can Legolas crowd surf, like or orc surf? Is a it's like
Yeah.
it's something he did once
Yeah.
or twice during the original Lord of the Rings movies, but in
Hmm.
that one action sequence, he would jump onto something or someone and then ride them down something more times than he did in the
He did
entire
once. He
original
did that
Lord of the
once.
Rings trilogy.
He
No,
rode
he
an
didn't.
orc once in this
No, he
movie.
did it
In
like
the first
multiple
one,
times.
he only.
He rode a shield in the
Disagree.
first one at
Right.
Helm's Deep,
Right.
and then he rode down like the elephants and stuff like that. But I'm serious, man. You go back and the
Yeah.
next time you watch it, he does that shit like 4 or 5 times through that action sequence.
Huh.
Because
Huh.
I was paying attention. I was like, what? They already did that. What?
Yeah.
Stop doing that!
I don't
God
know.
damn it!
Yeah. That was again not the worst. There was definitely some things that I felt were creative and fun.
Mhm.
But it kind of goes back to I don't know if you see these in order, they're not dependent for you to see them in order. Like Star Wars is something that one would hope you could show your kids 1 through 6 and now 9 and have this great ride ahead of you. But unfortunately, Lucas, instead of thinking of them as stories and precedents that come before these great prequels, couple 2 trequels, instead he spoils his own setup, he ruins his own story, and Jackson kind of does that with the action by throwing tributes to his own movie for the audience to go like, ah, that's so Legolas, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or even like the fact that they spoil who the necromancer is and stuff like that. I mean, because you really are kind of ruining the setup, because like they never really mention that in the books. Now I gotta preface this by saying I never actually read the books. I'm sorry, not books, books singular, because there was only one book, despite the 3 movies that it spawned. But it's my understanding that they first off, they don't show the wizard's duel, and then they don't spoil who the necromancer actually is. So yeah, I think you're right. He's kind of pulling a George Lucas, and he's kind of spoiling stuff. So like, if you watch in order, I don't know, it might kind of ruin it. I mean, I guess like revealing that's not a huge thing, but I mean, because you really kind of find out in the first movie what all is going on and everything. But still, like you said, it feels kind of out of order, and it feels like it kind of just cocks up the narrative a little. I don't know.
Yeah. But the main thing is that there's still people who saw episode 1 and had no idea that Sidious and the Emperor or Palpatine were the same guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're into it as much as we are, that's going to it's not going to surprise you.
Yeah.
But I feel that because it's a separate story that happened so long before Lord of the Rings, that you can keep it on its own and not reveal who the necromancer is until the 3rd movie, and then everybody goes, oh, everyone who isn't into the books as much.
Exactly, or has friends that quote everything out of the Silmarillion, or however you say that, start singing dwarf songs and stuff. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up for today.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we'll come back, and I especially want to talk about the wizards more, because I want to talk about that. I even have that written down here.
Good.
But all right, so we'll go ahead and we'll be back. See you then.
Ciao, babies.